What's here, y'all? Welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, we know that Keeneland, the Saturday card has been moved to Tuesday. The Friday card's been moved to Monday. So we have to plan accordingly. But we do have an all stakes pick five. Very nice of Keeneland to do this. They do have a getaway race on the card after the Bluegrass Stakes, but it's not part of the pick five, which is always nice. So we'll start by looking at it with leg one, which is the Appalachian Stakes, a grade two, sixth race on the card, running a mile on the turf for 3-year-old fillies. Pretty good field, full one, as you'd expect from Keeneland. You look at the early runners. Lush Lips, I thought, ran a really nice race at Gulfstream last time and nearly pulled off a wire job being run down by Nitrogen right at the last minute. But this is a horse that appears to be on the improve, and certainly she can build off of that effort off the bench, she might be tough to catch. I'm going to tell you why when we get to Nitrogen, but I think she's one that you certainly have to consider. That of the races that these all ran at last time, I think that one is the best of them. The one that produced Lush Lips and Nitrogen. So Lush Lips, I think, is definitely one to consider. Foxtastic is moving to turf for the first time, coming off a synthetic over at Turfway. Now, that is not why I'm picking her, so I know you guys know how much I love synthetic to dirt, but I just like the way she went about it. She got in a tangle, or a tussle rather, with Bourbon Memory in the stretch, who was a runaway, ran away from the field, and Foxtastic was able to run her down and ended up in a dead heat. Thought it was a really solid effort. This horse looks to be improving. I think we'll take the grass for Josie Carroll, no problem. One concern I do have, and this is why I think she's more of a candidate for under, is that the way she runs, I think she's still trying to figure it out. She runs with her head up, and it wasn't until the very end that she got fully extended. And I just wonder if she's still got some growing pains. But I think this is a horse that's going to be a pretty good one. But Foxtastic, I think we can use for under. I love Nitrogen. This horse has just impressed the hell out of me. 2 races in a row, she has basically been hand-ridden in the stretch to get up in time to win. It seems they go to the whip on her early on, but once she gets into the stretch, she just seems to toy with the field, and it's just a question of when she decides she wants to win the race. I mean, visually, that's what it looks like. I singled her in the last race she ran in because I just didn't see anybody who could beat her, and they couldn't. And she did it with such ease. I'd have to pick her on top again here. However, the one thing she does, the way she runs, it looks like she's flirting with disaster because she just seems to wait until like the absolute last minute before she kicks it into gear to get up. She's obviously got a great jockey, Jose Ortiz, aboard, so we don't worry about his clock. He'll time it just right. But it is a little tiny bit of concern, and I'd like to see her draw off with a little more authority, but this is a really nice horse, and ever since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf, where she got up for third with a strong close, this one's got a lot of quality, and I think she's going to be a major, major, major player in the ladies' turf division by the end of the year. So I like Nitrogen a lot here. Bill Mott has a nice one in Table Flirt. Her last race, she really seemed to be blocked in the stretch. It was questionable whether she was going to get free, and then just kicked it into gear and blew past that field. This is a step up, but as we know with Beaumont, his horses do not go into stakes races until they're ready. I think this one is definitely ready to take a move forward, and at 20-1, we'll see if we can keep the price there, but has the potential for an upset, and I really like Table Flirt a lot, and it'll definitely be a value play on the card for the day. Fen or Fion, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. This is for Brad Cox, and I liked the last effort. Again, looks kind of green. Another one who kind of runs with her head up and was sort of all over the place, but certainly displayed some potential there. And as the lone closer, that's always a good thing, because they don't get encumbered by a whole lot of traffic and makes it a little easier to work out the trip swinging wide. Probably want to, I think she's probably more for under because the power in this race is up amongst the leaders. But, excuse me, Fen is one that you can certainly think about at a decent price for underneath. Just want to make a couple notes about Vixen. I didn't like that last race at all. She just didn't look engaged. She didn't look interested. She barely got up to win in what has come back to be a pretty weak field. A lot of them ran at Gulfstream last weekend, and none of them really did very well. So couple that with, I thought, a really mediocre effort. It's hard to like her here. And at 3-1, I think she's an underlane. I just can't do it, so I'm going to toss her. Totally Justified, I think, is one that I want to see a race from for Rusty Arnold. I don't like her tab. There's a couple of gaps in it. And, I went back and watched that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, Phillies Turf, and I couldn't really find an excuse for her. But she did run a career high. It looked like one that was getting it, that was ready to progress. But again, because of the tab, and I do want to see one first. And, she could surprise. But it's just a feeling that she's maybe a race away right now. So we're going to go with Nitrogen in the Appalachian. But I think Table Flirt is a really intriguing possibility at a price. Second leg of the All-Stakes Pick 5 is the Commonwealth Stakes. It's a Grade 3, race 7 on the card, run at 7 furlongs for 4-year-olds and up. You got a full field of 12 here, and, I think the one to beat, without a doubt, has to be Montalcino for Cherie DeVoe and Jose Ortiz. What's really impressive more than anything else is the kind of fractions that this horse can set and finish. 21 and 43, 21 and 44 at 7 furlongs and is finishing. Just ultra impressive. And I mean, there's a couple in here that are going to try to stay along, but I just don't know if anybody can in this race. And I think in some respects, particularly being in the 2-hole, that 3-1 is rather generous. And you can't go against those connections. Cherie DeVoe she's just doing everything right now, and this horse looks like I don't know if I could single because of the nature of Keeneland, the Keeneland meet, and 7 furlongs being a funky distance. But this one looks awful good to me. Certainly a step up in class, but looks more than capable of handling it. I don't think, and incidentally, I don't think going off of Lasix is going to bother her because he debuted at without Lasix and ran a really nice race. So I'm not worried about that at all. And so Montalcino, the pick to me, going to have to wire the field, but I think is more than capable of doing it. Amongst the other pace runners, Epic Ride coming from Turfway, certainly the synthetic to dirt angle is a good one here. This horse has set equally as good fractions at unsynthetic and won at Keeneland, and that speaks to quality. It's probably his best surface, but he's okay on dirt too, and he's training well, and I think he's probably going to find himself rating a little bit, and I think he can do it. I just don't know if he can sustain, run on dirt at the kind of fractions that Montalcino is going to set. But Epic Ride's in good form. I've always liked this horse, and I think is one that you're getting a pretty good price with, and I think can hang around and has an outside chance. I want to mention Prince of Power. This is a horse coming route to sprint from the synthetic, and if I just couldn't quite get there with him, but if you're looking for a horse at a price to think about. The all-weather to dirt and the route to sprint angle, and firing fresh. There's a lot of things that make this one to think about. I don't know if he can run fast enough to get up, but he has run at Churchill Downs at around one turn where the fractions were pretty quick, and he did finish second a couple races back. So he's one I couldn't quite get there with him, but he's one to think about, and my attitude may change at post time. So just a little note there, one to think about. Extra Añejo was all the bee's knees, as a 2 and 3 year old. Everybody was all excited, and he had that long break, and he came back at 4, and he really didn't seem to progress from his 2 and 3 year old campaigns, and he just seems to be stuck in neutral. The thing that's also troubling is his races without Lasix haven't been very good. And that's what he's going to get here. However, let's note what Steve Asmussen's been doing this year. His barn was left for dead to start the year, and he's really been coming on, and all his horses seem to be running well. Magnitude, Tistastic, Publisher, all on the Derby trail. And I think his barn is really clicking right now. And I really like the tab from Extra Añejo. I love to see it when a horse runs the same distance and works, in this case 5 furlongs, and gets a little faster each one. And that tells me that the horse is really rounding into shape. And at 8-1, I think is a pretty good price. Loves the distance, has won at Keeneland. Why not? Going to sit off the pace and going to have to take a move forward without a doubt. But I think you have to find value in these Keeneland races. And for me, Extra Añejo makes some sense. Don't know as a win candidate, but I think one that I want to use, especially given the pace pressers. What you're talking about, I wasn't impressed with, or Ashcroft, or Hear My Song, I think needs a race. But so I settle on Extra Añejo. Then of the late runners, Caramel Chip, I'm at 30-1 because this horse is so consistent. He's not good enough to win this race, but he's more of an allowance horse, but he's just so consistent. And he always seems to find his way into the money, so at 30-1, why not use him for just that purpose? Hoist the Gold for Dallas Stewart. He's one of those horses, you just never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you get something that's really good, and sometimes you don't. It's interesting to me that he had so much success when they finally put him on the lead that now they've taken him back and started rating him again. He did well in his last start with Brian Hernandez in the irons, who's back with him here. I just wonder I just don't know if he's got enough to catch Montalcino, but I expect Dallas Stewart's a hard boot Kentucky guy, and I think he, usually wants to do well at Keeneland. So we'll throw Hoist the Gold in there as well, and he's got an outside chance as well. Now, Nutella Fella is one I wanted to include because we do remember this one from Saratoga, had those 2 wins, both at 7 furlongs. And the thing that bothers me is the last 2 really hasn't progressed. And yes, the last race he won, but it was the way he had to do it to win. He just seemed like he needed every ounce to get there. He needed a great ride, too, by the way. They ducked inside, and that was the call on the rail to finally get up. But you would have thought that, and I talked to Gary Contessa at Saratoga, incidentally, last year, and he told me he was going to get this one ready to be the Breeders' Cup Sprint champ. And the last 2 starts, it's hard to see that happening right now. I think this one has quality. Certainly the distance is agreeable to him, but he's going to have to get a lot faster. And he'll have some pace, without a doubt, with Montalcino in this race. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I just don't know if he's got enough in the tank to get up. Now, if you want to put him underneath at 12-1, I could see that, and that may be a game-time decision for me. But right now, just looking at his figures compared to those of some of the better horses in this race, he's going to have to take a pretty big step forward. So we'll see with Nutella Fella. But to me, Montalcino is going to be awful hard to beat in the Commonwealth. third leg of the All Stakes Pick 5 is the Madison Stakes. It's a Grade 1, 8th race on the card, run at 7 furlongs for 4-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And this is a tough one. Boy, you got a really nice field. Mystic Lake is in the 8 hole, and I thought in the inside info last time benefited from having the inside post and was able to get to the lead and was ultra impressive holding off Emery as well as Jody's Pride. Going to be a little tougher to get to the lead, but there isn't really a confirmed front runner in here, and I would fully expect Mystic Lake will get to the lead again. Be a little bit more of an effort, and certainly Emery is going to probably want it as well. But I think Mystic Lake will be in earnest to get there. 4 out of 5 at the distance with a second, so it's clearly what she likes, and that last race made a believer out of me. I had some reservations about it, but I just thought that was a really gutsy effort. Wondering, have a little bit of reservation that perhaps building on that or running back to that is a little bit of a tall order, but I think that she's up to it. Mystic Lake, mainly because I think she's going to be on the front end, is my pick to win it. Emery certainly is one you have to think about, but note the last couple that she hasn't been able to get over the top. And I don't know if it's that she's plateaued a little bit. Don't really know what is. This is a nice horse. She can win this race. I'm just giving a little bit of an edge to Mystic Lake based on the last effort. Now, when we get into the off-the-pace runners, Dazzling Move to me is interesting because I think you want a price in here, because if these two ding-dong, the two front pace setters, if they get into a battle, then I think it's going to be somebody coming off the pace. And Dazzling Move has not been successful at 7 furlongs in the past, but is now at 4 years old, debuted with a really nice score at 1 1/16, and the route to sprint angle should be a really good thing for Saffie Joseph here. I liked her just determination to get up and win that race. It didn't look like she could, but she did. And at 20-1, you're getting a nice price. Getting the career high Brisnet number off the bench is always a good thing, particularly when you're debuting at 4. So with a move forward from there and cutting back in distance, she could be very dangerous here, and I like a Dazzling Move. Scylla is pretty obvious, but, the thing is, the last 3, she hasn't been able to finish. And, yes, it's at the Breeders' Cup, Filly and Mare Sprint, and, the graded stakes where she's run into some really good horses, but Adair Manor, the Clement Hirsch, but it's just a little troubling that she hasn't quite been able to finish the deal, and she's another one that may be leveling off. Moreover, coming off the bench, might need a race. Looking at what she's done in the past coming off the bench, she's hasn't been at her level best. So not bad, but not at the top. So I'm thinking maybe she needs a race. And I kind of look at this one as, because it's kind of a top-heavy race, I think you got to plant your flag. And so I'm just going to go against Scylla. You certainly want to use underneath, but I do wonder if... I think Bill Mott's trying to turn her into the female version of Elite Power. One that had 2-turn pedigree, but was running its sprints and just could use that stamina to overcome fields. But I don't know if I see the same type of kick that we saw with Elite Power here. And it's unfair to compare the two, but I'm just kind of a little against Scylla here. Certainly, it's hard to go against Bill Mott on these type of days. I agree. It's Keeneland. Certainly, they've been. I'm sure she's been pointed to this one, but I just got a feeling she's going to need a race, and at a really short price in this field, that's a pretty damn good one, pretty deep. I'm going to go against her, but we'll use underneath. Now, Justique for Cherie DeVoe, Jose Ortiz, since they have taken her off the turf and moved to sprints, she's been a lot better. She hasn't run at 7 furlongs yet. That's really the question I have. The other thing is she's going to have to raise her game another notch to be competitive here. Could she do it? Entirely possible. Seems to be progressing in that direction, but it might be asking a little much in this field, this salty a group, for her to take that next step over the top. If she was to do it, I would think the best thing to do would be lay back and try to make a big run and hope that the top two burn each other out. It could happen, but Mystic Lake usually sets pretty reasonable fractions for a sprint, and I don't think Emery's going to be wanting to jack it up real hot either. So I think the pace will be probably maybe a little bit above average, but not enough that a closer is really going to have their way in this, have it, to their advantage. So then that leaves Justique with having to get faster, having to take a move forward. So I think underneath is probably more likely. So for the purposes of the sequence, I think you either have to take Scylla as a single or go against her, and I'm going to go against her here. And we're going to take Mystic Lake on top in the Madison. As always at Keeneland with a pick 5, the proverbial turf sprint. The fourth leg is the Shakertown Stakes, a grade 2, ninth race on the card, run at 5.5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And I'll tell you, this is a little bit of a head scratcher. I really didn't like the form from most of the horses coming in here, but Coppola would make some sense at being the lone front runner, really. Run Carson can too, but Coppola is dedicated to it. I just don't like the tab. Only a couple of works and a really big gap in them, and so I'm going to bet against Coppola here. Run Carson looks to be one that's rounding into good form and had some good success at 3. And I think can build on it, debuting at 4. And tab looks good. So Run Carson, I think, is logical in here. The wild card, there are a couple of them. Rogue Lightning is the first one, shipping from overseas. No works or anything to, so they're just coming over. This one, the one thing I would say is he has kept some very good company. Big Evs, amongst others, overseas. And the other thing is, while he hasn't won a lot, he's carried a lot of weight. In fact, he even carried 137 pounds in one race. So you don't carry that kind of weight unless you're well thought of. So we'll see what we get. I mean, we just don't know. But I have a pretty good belief that he's over here for a reason. So we'll include in at 5-1, pretty good price in a race that you kind of need one. Now, Valentine Candy, what I'm thinking here is, first of all, Steve Asheson's barn is going really well, and he's got Jose Ortiz in the irons. This one has never run on turf, but neither did Cogburn. And I kind of got a feeling we've got Cogburn too, possibly here. This one has speed figures that match up with the best in here and a little better in spots, and should take to the turf fine. I'm not worried about that. The lack of some dubious form on some of the horses in here should make for an easy egress. Is in the 5-hole, should be able to get right to where he wants to. He may take the lead. He may just rate off of Run Carson or Coppola, whoever gets the lead. But at 6-1, you're getting a really nice price. We're going against the old rule that you never bet on a horse who's doing something for the first time. And the main reason is that I can't really find anybody in here I'm real excited about to bet, to be honest. So we'll go with the wild card in Valentine Candy as the pick to win it. Our shot really hasn't been in the greatest of form either, but is a horse for the course, really likes Keeneland, won the Woodford here, 2 back. So I think, I don't know how much pace he's going to have to run to, but I think he's a logical that you want to think about using here. Think Big looks to me like a horse who's been pointed to this race. They've been steadily building him up class-wise, and he's had some good success at the distance. Now they've freshened up. The tab looks good. He's going to need to take a move forward, but at 15-1, I think represents some pretty good value. And one to throw in as kind of a wild card. And, Keeneland has the ability to spawn these wild card horses that come out of nowhere that you don't expect. So let's throw Think Big in there for Godolphin. Arzak is another one, loves Keeneland. Uh, Again, I'm not sure how much pace he's going to have to run to, but he always seems to run well here, and he does have sufficient back class that I think he's one that you want to think about in the Shakertown. I don't know that this is the best rendition of it they've ever had. There's a lot of holes in this field, so I'm kind of looking at the horses that have upside, and that's Run Carson, Valentine Candy, and Rogue Lightning for the just for the shipper, and who looks like he's probably live. And then Think Big is sort of a price horse that may come out of the woodwork and surprise in a race that I think is kind of hard to define form-wise. So now we've come to the featured race in the All Stakes Pick 5, the Bluegrass Stakes. It's a Grade 1, 10th race on the card, running a mile and an eighth for the 3-year-olds. And this is a 100-point Derby prep. And we do have an individual post on this, so if you want more of a deep dive, in-depth coverage of it, I encourage you to go over and take a look at that. We know all the players in here by now. There's no new faces, really. Owen Almighty, I'm a little surprised to see him in this race. He's in the Derby. Whether or not he's going to run, we don't really know. It seems to me like this is a race to sort of gauge, finally, maybe to convince the owners that he doesn't want 2 turns or he doesn't want a mile and eighth. I don't know. But he's here. You can't go against him. I mean, he just brings it every single time. I don't think this is a distance that he wants, but I'm not going to leave him out because he's just too classy, and he's in a race that, there's a few horses in here who have some limitations distance-wise potentially, but he's a great competitor, and I think he's got an outside shot at winning this race, but just something tells me I think the rubber maybe is going to finally hit the road here a little bit. But I think he can be underneath for sure. Obviously, East Avenue is the wild card, and he's the X factor in here. If he runs back to what he was in the Breeders' Futurity, which was at Keeneland, then he's going to be really hard to beat. But I really think that Risen Star was just, you can't overlook that he looked fine. He was training great up to it. Started off looked like he was just going to rate and blow right by Magnitude, and then he just quit. I mean, he didn't like have a disappointing third or fourth. I mean, he just fell right off a cliff, and that's very troubling to me. So now I'm starting to wonder if perhaps he hasn't moved forward at 3. It's entirely possible. I don't know. He seems to be training well again. But do I really want to hang my hat on him? I don't think so. So he's going to beat me here. I'm just going to leave him off the ticket. And if he wins, he wins. There's just not much. It's just too dubious for me to invest in. And at 3-1 especially, I just can't. I can't do it. Burnham Square I landed on. Now, I have said all along, I didn't think he ran that badly in the Fountain of Youth. I just think he was too far back to do any damage. It seemed that it took him a little while to get going, so perhaps he regressed a little bit off that Holy Bull, which was a really big race. But I thought the field was a little classier than it was in the Holy Bull, and to try to circle it probably wasn't the way to go. He was getting it going late in the race, and I think that's encouraging because if he really had bounced, he would have just not factored at all. He would have fell right back. But he didn't. He did. Just took him a little while to get going. So I think, now that he's had some time to regroup, I think this horse can get 2 turns. I think that's a big advantage here. We don't know about East Avenue and how he's going to run. He'll get the distance, but we just don't know how he's going to run. Owen Almighty, we got some major questions about him. At a mile and an eighth. River Thames, we got a lot of questions, and I'm throwing him out because I just don't think he can get the distance. At Gulfstream, sure, you can go a little longer there, but this is a deeper track, and it's going to be a lot harder for him to repeat the performance in the Fountain of Youth. He's awful classy, but I can't take him at 5-2, not in this race. So I landed on Burnham Square as one with quality. I think can rebound. And I think he's going to provided he's a little more forwardly placed, which I think is necessary, I think he's got a really good shot to win, and you're going to get probably a decent price as like the third or fourth choice. Render Judgment, I can't see winning this race. You go back to that Virginia Derby. Why did he finish second? He kept on running. There were a lot of horses in there who maybe a mile and an eighth was a little much for. It wasn't the greatest of fields, but he was no match for American Promise. He wasn't going to get to him. This is a horse who I think is just sort of plateaued. He just doesn't seem to be getting better. They're going to put blinkers on him, though, and he will get the distance. So I think this is a Render Judgment at 20-1, probably a good candidate for underneath because he's going to keep running. Now we come to Chance of McPatrick. I've said all along, I'm not the biggest fan of this horse. I'm not sure he really is a two-turn horse, that he really wants it. I didn't necessarily think that was a great Tampa Bay Derby. Yes, he was coming off the bench. Yes, it's Chad Brown. He wasn't tuned up all the way. That's all true. But, if he had real special quality, I would have thought he could have done a little better in that race than he did. And it looked to me like being more forwardly placed, as often happens with one-turn horses or those who run off the pace, it kind of saps their best asset, which is that late kick. And if you couple the Tampa Bay Derby with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, where he didn't run very well either, I still believe that this horse is not necessarily a two-turn horse. But in this race, I think he's going to progress from what he did in the Tampa Derby. It'll be another stepping stone towards the Kentucky Derby. And, he needs the race to get in. That's another part of it. So just by the nature of the way this field is composed, I think Chance of McPatrick can win this race. I think he's the second choice. But it's a really funky race. It's a tough one to figure out because there's question marks for a lot of them in here, and particularly the shorter priced ones. So that's how I landed on Burnham Square, and that's what we're going to go with. Him and Chance of McPatrick, I think, are the two that have the best chance to win this race. So looking at our ticket, it's the typical Keeneland pick five. It's tough all the way up and down. In the first race, leg 6, the Appalachian. Leg 1, race 6, the Appalachian. We're going to go with 1, 8, and 10. We are going to single in the seventh race with the 2 for Cherie DeVoe. That one just looks awful hard to beat, and I just can't see if I've got to find a single for this sequence because it's a tough one, and I think we're just going to hang our head on the Cherie DeVoe's horse, whose name escapes me right now, and I think he's a really good bet to go all the way wire to wire. Leg 3, race 8, we're going to go with 5 and 8. I think it's Mystic Lakes to lose. Just loves the distance, but I want to throw the 5 in as a little bit of a price as a possible. And then at leg 4, race 9, the proverbial Shakertown, the turf sprint. Who knows? I'm going to go with the 5. I think is poised and ready for this one, but I think big for a crazy price horse. I'm going to throw in. We'll throw in Rogue Lightning number 4, and then we'll throw in Run Carson number 1. I got a feeling the 5 is Valentine Candy should take to the turf, and being with the early runners being a little dubious, I think Valentine Candy has a really good chance to win the race. Finally, in the Bluegrass, we're going with Burnham Square, but we're going to add the 4 and the 6 there as well. Anything can happen in that race. That is a really, to me, the Bluegrass is a really wide open race. It is not. They've been more form-fitting in years past, but this one is really a head-scratcher. So we're just going to go with the 3, 4, and 6 and hope for the best. So that's 3 times 2 times 4 times 3. That's a $72 ticket on a $1 base. We've got some potential prices in here, and hopefully we can get 1 or 2 of them home. and we get our single, and we're just going to plant our flag. You have to do that at Keeneland. You just can't go crazy because the races are just too tough. So that's I don't want to put in like $100 ticket and spread. We just have to trust our insight and hope it's correct. So I hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy. I wish you the best of luck as always. We will have the full card for Tuesday, Keeneland, and we will with best bets and value plays. So be on the lookout for that, and potentially, time permitting, we'll try to get something together, perhaps for Aqueduct. We already do have the Grand Slam, All Stakes Grand Slam out. If you want to take a look at that for Saturday as a way to sort of cover us until we can bet Keeneland. And I don't know, we'll try to find some other things, maybe some other content just to have some other things to cover for Keeneland. Let me know if you guys have a suggestion. I'll be happy to entertain it. We do have the UAE Derby, I believe, on Dubai World Cup Day on Saturday. And I'll likely try to put something together for that, so you'll have that as well. Certainly, if you like content like this, please like and subscribe. Thanks again. The community continues to spawn, and I really appreciate it. The comments, keep up with those. We're loving it. Everybody's talking to each other. I'm really enjoying seeing what you guys post, so please continue with that. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.